Hare Gange Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. We have officially made it to September, back to school season, and we are feeling the huge energetic shifts. We have confronted so much this year and also had so many realizations of who we want to be and how we want to show up in the world and this new evolution in our lives. And I know so many people right now are considering career shifts. You are maybe not feeling fulfilled at the career that you are in, or perhaps you lost your business or you lost your job because of COVID and now stepping into something new. You know, this is what's happened with my husband. He's definitely looking into more of his spiritual side. So with every ending, there is a beginning. Or maybe you have been a stay-at-home mom and you're wanting to get out there. Maybe you just graduated from college, but you are considering something that allows you to use your gift of wanting to help people out into the world and take the concepts that you love to learn about in your free time, whether it is holistic health or Ayurveda, self-love, manifestation, whatever it is, and really bring it out to help other people go through that process. In fact, it brings you so much joy to be able to sit with someone and learn about, the nuances in their mind. Why do they keep going back to, eating muffins in the middle of the night? Or why can't they exercise? Or why is this hormonal issue there? Or why is this happening on a deeper soul level? Well, if you are that person, then being a holistic health coach is going to be such a fulfilling career and just a first step for you, because what we're really going to talk about in this episode is everything that you can do as a holistic health coach. So as many of you know, this is how I started my career, and I was working as a one-on-one health coach for about 5-6 years, and I wouldn't be here today sharing this podcast, writing books, having my Rose School Goddesses membership community, giving talks, everything that I do. Honestly, would not be here had I not started at IIN, which is Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is the school that I went to back in 2012. So at that time, I was just looking for help for my own health problems. I had a host of health issues. I had hypothalamic amenorrhea, which means I didn't get my period for 2 years, digestive issues, all sorts of things. And I just wanted to learn more about it for myself because it was a passion of mine, and that naturally made me want to help others. And that led to everything else. So I know so many of you are also looking to make your mess your message and are searching for that true dharma, your soul's purpose. And this is really the time that we can take action and move towards it. We're in that Vata season. We're in that Virgo season. It's time for us to take that idea and then take action on it, because the world is shifting, and like we're going to be speaking about in this episode, health coaches are really more needed than ever before. And this is the perfect opportunity for you, as we're already going to be at home for the next couple months, to take that time to be starting your career. Imagine graduating from school in the next couple months and being able to start your career with the certificate as a holistic health coach. So in this episode, I sit down with IIN's head of brand, Jim Curtis, who has had an incredible story of healing himself, which he'll share with us in this episode. And then we answer basically all of the questions that you have of, what are the different niches that you can have? What if you want to work with more spiritual or life coaching or emotional eating? What's the difference between, this program and that program? And all of the things available for you when you make this decision to become a holistic health coach. I know myself, I had so many questions. I did not know a single person that went to the school before I signed up. I definitely did not have a discount or anything. I paid the full thing, and I was really, really scared. And I wish I had someone who was answering the questions and kind of showing me everything that was possible for me after graduating. So I wanted to create this episode for you to give you that resource and show you that it is possible, and that IIN can truly be a launching pad into so many different types of careers, when all it takes is really just saying yes to your soul, and yes to that desire within you that is wanting to do something more. So today I am an IIN ambassador because I am so grateful for my own education there, and I've teamed up with them to offer you a $2,250 discount off of your tuition at IIN. That's $2,250. You can also receive my bonuses, including my How to Create a Thriving Health Coach Career, which I give you my tips, tricks, everything that I have learned as a holistic health coach, from one-on-one coaching to group group coaching to online programs. All of that I share with you in this webinar, which is my first bonus. We have a second bonus, which is a business coaching call with myself, Jim, and the CEO of IIN, where we share with you more business strategies, etc. And we're also going to be giving you reserved seating at the next IIN live conference because they have these amazing live conferences. Now they're going to be doing it again all around the country once everything opens up, and you'll be able to have reserved seating for that. So all of those discounts are available for you if you do decide to enroll as a holistic health coach. You can find that link in the show notes wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you just click the info, you'll be able to see it. Click that link. I share more information about IIN, more about my story, and you just tell them that you were referred by Sahara Rose, and you'll get all of those discounts and bonuses available for you. So without further ado, let's welcome Jim Curtis to the Highest Self Podcast. Welcome, Jim, to the Highest Self Podcast. It's so great to have you here.
It's so good to be here. I've been wanting to be on this podcast for quite some time.
You manifested it.
I did. I've been waiting for you to ask me. I've been thinking about it and feeling it, and now it's happening. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. So the first question I'd love to ask you is, what makes you your highest self?
That's a fantastic question. What makes me my highest self is connecting to a higher power. So I need to reconnect on a daily basis to something that is greater than me, or else I get stuck in ego and start to act small. So what makes me my highest self is really connecting to my own higher power. Then I'm big, and then I can expand, and I can help other people, and I can spread the word, and I can do the work. But if I'm not connected to my higher power, then I am my lowest self.
Yes, it's like when you're stressed out about something and then you meditate and you come back to it and you just see it from such a different perspective, and you're like, why was I so stuck in this hole when I could have looked at it from this greater lens, and it's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah. Or when you start to focus on things based on your ego, and then when you kind of come out of it and say, what if my ego didn't matter? What if I didn't matter as much as, or what if I had something bigger than me? Would this still matter? And oftentimes it's no. Those things matter because, my mind is telling me they matter. But what does my heart tell me? And then I can rise above it, and those little annoyances or something someone said, or, something that it really becomes nothing.
So true. So you have an incredible story of healing and transformation. So can you tell listeners how you got personally into health and wellness?
Sure. Well, I started about 20 years ago, and I was just kind of like that guy that, that was in the fraternity and wore his hat backwards and, could crush a beer can on his forehead. That was me. And in fact, I did all of that. But I was also an athlete, and sports was my thing. I got, recruited to college to swim. I was always very athletic until I started to feel some pain in my chest. And then one day I was riding my bike, and the next morning I woke up and I was numb on my left leg. And so we knew something was wrong. And my mother, being a nurse in the ER, would often didn't get excited about anything. And with this, she's like, there's an issue. So I got an MRI way back when MRIs took an hour and a half to do. And they found lesions on my spinal cord, which, to make a long story short, progressed and progressed and progressed. And every month there'd be a new issue until I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. So my journey started there. And it started with fighting that. It started with transitioning my sense of self from, okay, I'm this tough guy that can, athlete, can do anything, to now I can't at all. And fighting it, still getting a job as a trader on Wall Street, and just fighting kind of where what I know now is kind of was my purpose, was my path was leading me. I was constantly trying to stray from that path, and it constantly kept putting me on the path. So eventually I went to see about 200 different practitioners all over the world, and I kind of got a handle on what I was dealing with, although it was never diagnosed. It manifested just like many other things. And I got a handle on it, and I still walk with a limp today. And I have some issues, but overall I'm really healthy. And what this has allowed me to do is allowed me to help start major websites that now the world uses. It helped me to open up my own wellness center and to write a book and to give a TED Talk and and to now be head of brand at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which has allowed me to be on your podcast. So I'm continually blessed every day as long as I can keep my head out of kind of this sickness mindset.
Such a beautiful story. And I think that so many of us, we resist the path that we're meant to be on. And the universe keeps on like showing us. And sometimes it takes like that breakdown moment, growing through pain. And then we realize, oh, I don't have to grow through the hardest situation ever. I can start to grow through joy, grow through nuances. And then your listening powers pick up. And then before it manifests into this huge like brick wall, you can make those changes.
I love that. I love that you said that. And I never even thought of it that way until you said it. But I used to almost brag, like, I learned, but I learned slowly. I need to hit rock bottom before I learn, and everything, believe me, from my illness to love relationships going awry to everything. I thought that, once I was just a tough learner. I hit rock bottom and then come out of it. But now I'm learning through love. And now it's a lot easier for me to learn. I don't have to be in the most traumatic situation to actually get a lesson. I can kind of actually look at how I'm feeling and what's happening and how I'm behaving, change that behavior, get a lesson, and do it in love. And it's a lot easier. So I love that you said that. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we don't know it until we have to get to that point. And then once you get to that point, you're like, is there a better way for me to do this? Because we're all on a growth path, right? So it's like, okay, am I going to keep banging my head against the wall to learn? Or am I going to be like, okay, I know not to do that anymore. I'm going to do it anyways. But I think it's like layers of resistance. And then, the more intuitive you become, it can just feel like a little whisper, a little caress. And you're like, okay, that's that feeling that something's off.
Yes.
Yes. Well, globally, I mean, we are going through it. We are going through the biggest shift, the biggest mass awakening especially of health right now. I mean, there's never been a time ever in our lifetimes or even in the past 100 years. I don't know what it was like during the Spanish flu, but a time that all of our conversations are around health. We open up, the news, we talk to someone. I mean, even physically, we see everyone wearing masks. So it's like health is on the forefront of our minds. And so many people who were completely in avoidance or ignoring health are suddenly, for the first time, becoming a little bit more curious about it. And then the people who already were curious are really taking that up a notch. So just there's such a huge demand right now for people to support. So what are you seeing, especially as, head of brand at IIN and really working in this field for the past, 2 decades and having your salt room, which I had the pleasure to experience when I was in New York. What are you seeing now, especially with the wellness, spiritual space post this coronavirus world?
Well, what I'm seeing is a much higher increase in demand for health coaches and a much higher increase in demand for health coach training. So, typically 9 to 10,000 people will go through the school a year, and this year it's more like 12. But not only that, there are more people reaching out to find a health coach. So, and I think when I say health coach, they're not just, this is a little bit of a scare, right? Because you want to eat to build your immunity, right? But also, it's so much more than COVID now because we have this political structure. We have social injustices that are just bubbling over and need to be resolved. We have all these different things that are weighing on people emotionally and waking them up spiritually. So they're coming to places that can not only teach you how to eat for your immunity, for your medicine, for your connection to other people and intimacy, but they're coming for really what we teach first and what we call the primary foods is that connection to a higher power, that relationships, what to do with your career, the purpose in life, and really living in a state of love, which oftentimes, especially when I talk to my guy friends that are not really into this, it's like, okay, living in a state of love. And I'm like, yes, that's actually a thing. You can check out Ram Dass. You can actually start to teach yourself to live in a state of love, even when you get angry. So that's what we're starting to teach more of, and that's what people are coming for. So we've seen a revolution, like you said, and it's really showing up in the amount of people that want to be a part of it.
I am 100% seeing that and people seeing how interconnected it all is. I mean, not only do we have COVID, we have the mental health crisis around this right now. We have people that are in total isolation and a lot of old habits are coming up, whether it's emotional eating, right? Or it's addictions, or it's eating disorders, or, whatever was there, but you may have been able to distract yourself has just come completely in your face. So I'm seeing more than ever, people are like, I have an addiction with eating sugar at night because I'm so stressed from work I hear at news, or I have this issue that I, deprive myself or whatever it is. And there's no running away from it anymore. And I think where people get stuck is like, they can't fix it on their own. They've tried and they've tried and they've tried and they've reached this point that they're like, I need someone who can help me with my problem. But I think the issue is they don't know who that, like your doctor's not going to help you with that, or like your average therapist. And I feel like that is what makes health coaching so unique because of all of the niches that people choose afterwards. Like I remember myself when I graduated back in 2012, I had a completely different niche. I've switched niches so many different times from at first I was actually working with people with eating disorders, because that was my background and it kept shifting, maybe more digestive and candida focused, et cetera. So I think what I'd love to share with the listeners right now is a lot of them, they don't want to be a nutrition coach or a health coach or something like that. What are the different niches that they could take from doing this program?
Yeah, if you don't want to be a nutrition coach, don't be, because there's so much more that you can be in that sense. Because and like you said, the doctor is not going to help you with this. The doctor gives you a prescription, and then when you're triggered by everything in the world, it's like we got every trigger possible thrown at us this year. And it's like, okay, sometimes you just need someone to talk to that can say, when you're triggered and you're in the grocery store and you're about to buy donuts, and need someone who can have the ability to say, why are you going to buy donuts? Not, hey, choose celery. No, just why are you feeling that you're about to choose donuts? Can you be aware that you were just emotionally triggered and now psychologically, unconsciously, you're looking for security in donuts? So that's kind of what we teach. So some of the specialties are emotional eating. That takes the psychological route of why you're doing this and then figuring it out. And guess what? A lot of eating disorders come from emotions, emotional eating. We get into that as well. So if I was, because I'm an emotional eater, if I was to do this again now, I would do the health coach training course and specialize in emotional eating. That's one way to go. We have a lot of people that come to us that have gone through their yoga training, the yoga teacher training, and they want to, eat well for fitness, but also have that spirituality aspect. And that's the circle of life that we teach, and all quadrants of your life need to kind of be hitting it once to be at your best. And so that's someone who can specialize. There are people, we have hormone health courses so that you can kind of add that on to your specialty and specialize in hormone health. Gut health is a big one. That's the microbiome. That gets into depression. That gets into other things, and you need to be able to, not only eat for that, but lower your stress and learn techniques to lower your stress. And then I say to folks, maybe you don't want to join the health coaches to coach people and consumers or patients or clients that are coming to you. Maybe you want to be the health coach that coaches coaches, meaning I'm a health coach. I'm a coach. I've always been a coach. I'm a teacher, and I coach coaches or executives, meaning someone that I specialize in. Someone wants to build their business. How do you build your business to be the best health coach, to get the most out of it, and to have the most clients? And that is your advanced business coaching. So you can get all of that at IN, but even in just the core curriculum, the health coach training program, we teach pieces of that. So you can say, okay, this is where I want to go. And then you have the toolkit to be able to switch if you have something else interests you, like you did.
I love that so much. And I think that having that niche is major because I know for myself, when I graduated, I thought if I was as versatile as possible, I would get the most amount of clients possible. So like anyone I met, a bodybuilder, sure, I'll help you. Someone wanting to get pregnant, I'll help you. Someone wanting to lose weight, I'll help you. And, it obviously wasn't very sustainable because I would spend all this time trying to research about this one person's issue. And then when they were gone, now I'm like, okay, well, what do I do with this? It helped me figure out what I do and I don't like, but it's like, if I had thyroid issue, do I want to go to the jack of all trades or do I want to go to like the thyroid paranoid whisperer or
Totally.
whatever else it is. Like you want to go to that person. And I think people feel like, oh, well, if I'm not, a doctor, if I don't have my master's in that thing. I know for me, like coming from a family that education was so important, I had that block of like, well, should I go get my PhD in nutrition or my master's or something like that? So if someone's, thinking about, do I do like that type of schooling or IIN, what are the differences there?
I just want to say one thing to what you're saying is just think of healthcare as more advanced than us and look back in healthcare and it's kind of the 1800s, 1900s, you went to the doctor and now you go to the endocrinologist, the cardiologist, the neurologist, the whatever it is. And health coaching is moving in that direction as well. So if you go to a school and it's just like, okay, I'm going to become a dietitian or a nutritionist, they talk about diet and nutrition in regard to very specific science, which is great if that's what you want. But with a health coach, your spectrum really opens up because you know how to then, as a health coach, your job is to advise and to guide, right? So if someone goes to a dietitian and they get their blood tests and then they give them you should eat this. And then typically what happens with a patient, they go to a doctor, they come home and forget what they said or they're confused. And a health coach is really there to say, okay, clearly this is the issue, X. And your nutritionist gave you X, but okay, now call me when or here is your supermarket buying guide. And then you can't just eat. You have to also meditate. You have to get a gratitude journal. You have to what's happening in your job and what's happening in your relationship. How are you relating to people? Because that's the major indicator of happiness. And a health coach can do all that. And then you can start to specialize in the things that you do best. Other educational courses really are much longer and I think they kind of pigeonhole you in my own opinion. Not to mention, we really have health coaches that are coming and being trained and doing their work that is steeped in experience, meaning I have gone through this and then I got the training to be able to coach you in it, built upon my experience, right? And that's super powerful. Like I've gone through a trauma, I've learned, I've recovered, and now I want to show you. And guess what? I'm certified to do so, as opposed to I'm interested in some medical or some dietitian, and I'm going to learn about the nuts and bolts and then give you a prescription.
Exactly. I think I would much rather want to take advice from someone who's gone through my same problem because they'll know the triggers. They'll know, okay, when you're like awake at midnight and really craving that same cereal that you always eat, and this is the thought in your mind, here's what's worked for me, here's some tools, etc. Versus someone who just like maybe like read it in a book and might intellectually know, but doesn't know all of the, triggers that come with something like that. I think we all know, like there's not someone that's like, wait, sugar's bad for you? What? I didn't, you're not supposed to have bread? Like what? It's the reason why we keep going back to it. And what I also love about IIN too is like, I remember I was working a lot with like eating disorders and one woman had binge eating. She would get into sort of like a trance and just start binge eating. And actually that really helped me deepen into my own spirituality because I started to guide her through meditations of like, okay, what's happening? What's the emotion that's showing up right there? And we were able to trace it back to like when she was a child and she wasn't allowed to buy sugary cereals because her mom wouldn't let her do it. So she would go to her friend or neighbor's house and suddenly eat as much of the cereal as she could before her mom got there. So it became this like kind of like a neurological bliss in her mind of like, when I'm here with the cereal, like I got to eat as much of it as possible. And she would X out of the world. So when she was able to realize, wow, it's coming from this 8-year-old self who feels like I'm not allowed to eat this, even though I'm now like 40 years old, then she was able to have so much more compassion for herself. And then the work became so much less around like, why do I keep doing this? I'm such a shitty person. Why am I doing this? Versus like, there is a wounded inner child within me that needs healing. And that work shifted so much. So I feel like that is what is the unique thing that a health coach gets to hold space for is like the deeper spiritual, emotional component underneath that, because without that, you're never going to solve the issue.
I couldn't agree more. And so how do you build that awareness in someone so they know what they have to work on instead of not knowing what they don't know and just knowing that they have an issue? And as a health coach, you're a guide to be able to help people through that. And it's extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful. So that's an excellent example. Did she get better?
She did. She got so much better. And now she actually works in the wellness space herself.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. When you light someone up like that and they see a result, you can't help but not want to do that yourself and help other people. It's like you have a real desire to, oftentimes, and this leads into something else I want to say, but oftentimes people have a real desire because they've been helped and now I'm lit and I want to help the world and go forward and kind of share that light, but I can't possibly charge for it. That's wrong. And so I'm just going to be, a health coach that doesn't charge, and part of that is making a living for yourself and earning so that you can be in a comfortable, safe place, secure with income so that you can then go out there. It's so health coaching, we teach the business aspect too, because, okay, you could be spiritually great, you could be eating great and physically great, and now you have a block against business. You don't know how to get started, or you feel as though you're not worth earning. And that means that you're not there yet, because it's okay to have a fair price and receive something for your efforts, especially when you're helping. So we kind of teach that as well. It's like you be the best you can, make a great living. You deserve it. In doing so, you'll be better capable of helping more. So we teach all that stuff.
And I think that was definitely my biggest block and also my biggest learning from doing IIN, because I have always loved to help people. And I think a lot of people who are drawn to this work, they're that person their friends and family come to when they have an issue, when they had a breakup, whatever it is. So it's almost like they find such a sense of joy and fulfillment doing it. So they feel wrong. They feel like it's icky or slimy to charge people for doing it. And also a lot of them are kapha doshas, which is that earth energy type. So those people are naturally just healers. They want to connect with people and dive deep. So at first I would have like $20 consultation on my website. And I was like, how come no one's coming to me? Well, probably because they weren't going to trust me with their life and all their issues. And I'm like, $20 consultation. I did not listen to what IIN taught me. I went off. I was like, no one's going to pay me that much, because I had my own worthiness issues. I thought if I'm just the cheapest health coach out there, I'll get the most number of clients, which in retrospect is hilarious, but that's what we go through. But it was so fascinating for me, because then even when I would start, I wouldn't obey. Like IIN suggests about 50 minutes to an hour per consultation. I would let them talk for as long as they needed to. 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Text me whenever you want. I'll hop on a call with you. And I thought that was me being the most helpful, but it was actually enabling. And it was also me not showing boundaries to myself. So once I actually started to take into account everything IIN shifts of like how to do the first consultation, how to set up like the program and agreements and all the paperwork, I would not have known any of that stuff, but it allowed me to actually help people in a greater capacity.
Yes. Yes. And you said boundaries. We operate better with boundaries, right? We can be, when we set up emotional and mental boundaries for people in our lives and for ourselves, we gain a little bit of a sense of security. Like I know where, it is. So you burn out if you just let people talk for 4 hours straight. And also they're not getting as much out of it because they don't have time to reflect, and they've just kind of thrown it all up on the plate at once. So you figured it out for sure.
So do you recommend, for someone who is thinking about becoming a health coach, do you recommend that they start kind of working with people in a program, like a 6-month program, or do you suggest people do one-off consultations as well?
After they've gotten their degree and they're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Within IN, we have some practical experience. Like you have to go out and start coaching people. When we say a minimum of 6, right? So you get your friends and family and you're like, I'm going to do a health intake, and then I'm going to give you a coaching session. We're going to go through this. And I say, really, during that time while you're in school, do like 12, do 15, do as many as you can and you have time for. So you really feel confident and ready to get out into the world and set up your marketing funnels and set up your Zoom webinars to attract clients and offer what people want. Meaning, oftentimes what I'm hearing is that sometimes people don't have the financial flexibility to have a one-on-one hour-long health coaching session every week. So get them to bring a friend, get them to bring 2 friends, and have a Zoom coaching session around the issue that they kind of all have in common. And you can do that really effectively now with Zoom. And then I'd get a combination and see what you like working with best, because once you start actually getting paid for it and finding who you can benefit most, you're going to find your specialty. So you're like, okay, maybe I specialize in group coaching for women who are 35 plus dealing with emotional eating. And I can get them in a group and I can get them resonating with each other and resonating with me. And they walk out there feeling emotionally empowered. That's great. Or maybe I've realized that through group coaching, I'm better one-on-one with someone. And I'd like to work with moms who are dealing with feeding their family and not having time to connect to their higher power. So test it out and see what you enjoy most, because when you enjoy it most, you're going to derive the most value. So that's what I always recommend.
I love that. And there's so much flexibility now that things are on Zoom because you can actually see a lot more clients. You can be at home and see so many different clients throughout the day, do group programs. And that was another question that I know a lot of people have. They're not sure if they want to do the one-on-one thing. They're not sure if they're like a coach. They're more interested in doing online programs, courses, maybe a membership community, writing books. Can IIN help them achieve those goals as well?
Yeah, listen to some of our grads. So Melissa Wood Health, you must know her. She's become a fitness phenomenon. I think I may have seen you do some of her fitness. She is an IIN grad and she went on to be fitness, and she's created her own fitness app and courses and that kind of thing. Danielle from Sahara Life, she started Sahara Life, which is a food delivery service, which has done really well. Sahara at the Well, which is one of the premier wellness centers in New York City. Yourself, Sahara, who's become extremely successful with writing and speaking in all your courses that you do. We've had grads that have even started up large schools. The HCI is a competing school that the graduates have gone on to start. So you can do everything from one-on-one coaching to, we have maybe 10,000 authors that have graduated from our course and have even taken our Launch Your Dream book course. So writing books, TED Talks, we've got a lot of TEDx speakers. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. It's not only, like you were saying before, relegated to, okay, I'm going to be in an office and I'm going to wait for that person to come and I'm going to talk to them for an hour. And when they leave, that's it. The world is really open to you in terms of career potential.
It's so true. Because people always ask me, they're like, well, because you're doing spiritual stuff, how did IIN help you? I'm like, I wouldn't be doing the spiritual stuff had I not started IIN. I wouldn't have had the confidence. It's like when you sign up for a school, it's like an energetic container. You're saying, I'm putting my focus into committing to achieve this goal, this milestone. And it's like reading a book. It's not the same. Even if the exact same information was in a book, it's not the same because you're not moving through a curriculum. You're not like receiving this like certificate at the end to really commemorate it. So if I had not signed up for IIN, honestly, I probably would have gotten distracted somewhere along the path, signed up for, whatever job or whatever thing I could have gone at the time. And, I think Source would have worked through me. Somehow I would have found my way back, but it definitely wouldn't have been, as early in my career as it had. So I'm super grateful that because at the time when I signed up, I didn't even want to be a health coach. I just wanted to learn about health for myself because I had health issues. So it really just like pushed me on that path to keep listening and keep listening. And I love that like Sahara Life, it's like a food delivery service. Or Latham Thomas, who we're going to have on the podcast soon. She works with, with doulas and midwives, but it all comes down to the same information, confidence, and courage that we got from signing up at IIN.
I think you're right. And I hear that a lot. Like, I just did this so I could be healthier, or because I wanted to do something and something interests me. I was led here and I didn't want to be a coach and I wanted to do this just to make my life better or my family's life better. And then they go on to like say, oh, shoot, this could actually be a career. I'm going to get going. Or they don't. And they just like are opened up to this, like Pandora's box of spirituality and wellness has opened up. And by that, they automatically don't want to eat refined foods, right? When you have like a connection and you're feeling your best and like, okay, like God's light is shining down on me if you believe in God, and like I am feeling strong and emotionally connected, you don't really want to go eat processed foods or McDonald's or you want that stuff when it's like, okay, the world, I don't know what to do. I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm unhappy. So we teach that with crowding out, meaning like when you get your spirituality, your relationships, your career kind of in the right perspective, you don't have to have all the willpower to eat appropriately. It just kind of falls in place because you crowded out the bad stuff. You start drinking more water. You start eating some healthier foods when you go for a snack. And that kind of just leads to feeling better in your body and eating better, because you don't want to be doing all that good stuff and then putting garbage in your body. And as a health coach, oftentimes people are like, I couldn't possibly give advice to someone. And as a health coach, you're not actually giving that advice. A lot of it's listening. You ask a question, you allow the person to explain what's happening in their lives, and then you identify a path for them that may be better. And then you keep identifying it and keep identifying it, so hopefully they move down that path, as opposed to a prescriptive medicine that a doctor or a nutritionist or a dietitian may give.
And that was such a game changer for me, the high mileage questions, because I went into it thinking, okay, if someone is hiring me to be their health coach, I need to be rambling off as much as I can during that 3 hours, So I felt like if someone's paying me for something, I have to talk as much as possible, when the opposite was true. I had to learn how to just listen, to ask questions. And that was where the real progress was had. And that's a template that you can add to anything. And what IAN really teaches you is to hold space. To hold space, let someone come to their own conclusions, because when someone comes to their own conclusions, it's so much more valuable for them than someone else telling them what to do.
You probably felt like you were listening in other areas of your life and holding space in other areas of life, because all of a sudden you're holding space for someone, you're listening to someone, you're like, okay, this is effective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to listen more often. I'm going to hold space more often for other things outside of my clients, maybe my husband, maybe my job, maybe my mother. And then, all of a sudden your relationships start to get better. So, it is a continuum. It's a circle. All of this stuff is connected. So if you want to be healthier in all areas of your life, it takes a few key levers. And we've been explaining that, but that's where it is. That's why I recommend it to everybody.
Totally. It's such a great template because I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I don't need a certificate to be a coach. I'm already doing it myself. I don't need a certificate, but I feel like going to a school gives you a template of tried and true methods. And where we might be at right now, we might think that, oh, well, I'm creating this new methodology and I know better. And it's great. Maybe you will create your own methodology, but if you've never studied what works, then there's a reason why it's there. There's a reason why coaching is the way that it is, why you have people ask questions, et cetera. And what do you suggest for people who feel like, well, I'm already living this, so I don't need to go to school to become a coach?
One thing to live it for yourself. It's another thing to have a formula and some training in how to live it and teach or show or guide people to live it themselves. That's a big difference. Before I got training, I was like, well, I've experienced everything, so I could just tell people what I experienced. And it's just not that at all. You build upon your experience with actual learning and skill so that you can guide someone down the path. And it's a much more effective way. And guys, not to mention, you need to learn how to earn from this, right? So we all want to be healthy in our financial lives as well. And this is becoming, health coaching is no longer fringe. Think about chiropractic 20 years ago. People are like, you're cracking your back. Insurance didn't even cover it. And now, 20 years later, massage is covered by insurance, chiropractic is covered by insurance. And we are there for health coaching now, too. We started this health coaching school 30 years ago, and people are like, health coaching, what? That's weird. And now we're all the way to the point where, the AMA is partnering with insurance companies to study the effectiveness of health coaching in what's called the CPT-1 codes. When we get to CPT-3 codes, maybe a year or two down the road, after we get the data, health coaching will be covered by insurance. And that's a fantastic thing. So exciting. We've hit the mainstream, right? Yes, very good, because you can make more money and people have to pay you less out of pocket because insurance will cover it. But that means there'll also be more regulation, right? So all those people try to go to a doctor now that didn't graduate med school and didn't have a certificate or doesn't get continuing educational credits. And so down the line, I predict a year or two from now, it will be required to have a fully licensed certificate by a school that is audited and licensed by a state Department of Education. And that's why I always say, be careful with where you go. And I've written a few emails and I've written a lot about this because I've been seeing a lot lately, people capitalizing on this trauma of the world today and the desire to be healthier and to be a health coach or to get a coach. And all of a sudden, literally 60 schools have popped up offering health coaching. And what's interesting is that it's always based on price. It's like, get your health coaching degree for $1,500, or for $249 you can do whatever it is. And I just say, be careful, because you want to invest in, you want to go to a Harvard. You don't want to invest in someone that has set up a health coaching school because they knew how to do it technically. And then when it comes time to be regulated by the government, which it will, as soon as you get insurance paying for something, it's regulated, your certificate means nothing. You need to have a school like an IAN is this, and there are other schools too, but IAN is certified and audited and licensed by the New York State Department of Education. We have a number of different colleges the credits count towards. It is constantly updated with content. We're going through a few $1 million it costs to do a complete overhaul of the course now, and we're doing it. And I think you'd be hard pressed. Oftentimes someone will say, well, I'm going to go to this school because they're a graduate of IAN, and they recognize what was wrong with IAN and they just made it better in their course. And I say to that, God bless, because our students can do that. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so incredibly proud of you. IAN has literally 160 employees and they're working like I work, 80-hour weeks. And these schools have come and tried to recruit me to work for them. And if they're trying to recruit me to work from them, that's because they think we're the best. And because we are. You can't just graduate and start something like this. With 160 employees, we're barely getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful, be skeptical, and that's not in life. But when you're making a decision that costs you an investment in your future, really be smart about it.
Yeah, I mean, I see this happen a lot too, of all sorts of, you get your certificate in 3 days, get your certificate for $200. And what those things are, it's, they're giving you their certificate, but what does it mean? It's like, I can hand you a certificate for you're a High Self Podcast grad now, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything in the world. So I think that people don't realize, yes, right now at this moment in time, people can do that, but it's just going to be like being an acupuncturist, being a chiropractor, et cetera. There are going to be more rules and regulations. I mean, already Mark Hyman and so many different doctors are hiring exclusively health coaches to be working for them. Are they hiring? I know one doctor is hiring only IIN health coaches.
Dr. Frank Lippman, he's the man. He only hires IIN health coaches. The Well, which is kind of where Dr. Frank Lippman is kind of head of, he has his own practice, but in New York City, if you guys haven't heard of The Well, it's a wonderful place. As soon as it opens again, I'll be back. But they only hire IIN health coaches. At my own Modern Sanctuary in New York City, I only hired IIN health coaches. But that's just a small area. There are hospitals like Peace Health, big hospital system. They send all their people through IIN exclusively. So Cleveland Clinic has health coaches, some IIN. They may get some other training. That's where Mark Hyman is. But so, yeah, more and more, because we have that very trusted brand name, our grads get hired first.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the internet is a wild, wild west, and it's very hard to monitor different things that are happening. But go with, for me, I think the biggest thing was the fact that so many bloggers or people that I had looked up to, I kept seeing IIN on their website that I'm like, okay, there's something to this place that all of these different people who are inspiring me all happen to have, congregated there. I wished it was in person. I was like, I want to be with everyone in person, but now it's like, it's a no-brainer. Everything is online. So it's like, do you want to pay for a complete college tuition or something that was created online and is actually, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be there last year and just seeing the studio and everything. And the design is created for having the best online experience. Whereas now we're seeing so many universities, et cetera, trying to go online. It's their first time doing it. They don't know how to do it. And online education is so different than, that in person. But then there's also the option of, several different universities that you can take the credits towards your master's. So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there are University of Maryland. There are 5 or 6 different universities across the United States that we've selected to partner with. that if you're going for your master's or any higher education, these credits up to 40 credits, which is actually a lot. That could be, a full year of school. This counts towards it. So there's more information on the website about that. But it is online. And you spoke at our conference last year. That was a lot of fun. A couple thousand people came. We got the community together and had a lot of fun. This year, we actually planned 7 big events like that. And I know because I was trying to get you to speak at another one in California, and we had to cancel them. But they will be back.
And Deepak Chopra was speaking too.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was
it'll happen next year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was you, Deepak, and a few others. And I was so excited about it. We were going to
It's like, what school do you just casually see Deepak Chopra speaking at your school event? There's no other school that your teachers are like Mark Hyman, Gabby Bernstein, people who are really doing incredible things. These are who you get to learn from. And it really does make a difference.
Yeah. Yep. And the live events will be back next year, hopefully, or maybe a little bit later than that, but we'll see how the world goes.
Yes. And there's a great, the Facebook community there. Each class had their own Are you guys still doing Facebook groups? And when I went,
we sure are.
Groups.
Yes. We're doing Facebook groups, those kind of the Facebook groups and the coach moderator groups, and then the coaching calls are all ways that you get real time, people have long lasting friendships because they meet on these coaching calls. We kind of set you up with a coaching buddy, someone in your coaching call that you can call while you're studying or just to bounce things off of. And it's really long lasting relationships. And then, of course, message boards and private communities within Facebook.
Yeah, it is so important for people to have, a sense of community that you feel like you're doing this at the same time. I signed up for this sports nutrition certificate thing because I wanted to learn more about the nutrition. And they literally sent me a textbook and sent me a quiz. And the certificate was, I read this book and fill out this quiz, this open book quiz. That was the certificate. No,
it was only $1,000.
Yeah, no human interaction. It's literally a book and a quiz. And I was like, imagine if that was my only experience or my only background. And there are so many quote unquote certificates that's what it is. But you need to feel, especially in this online world, you need to feel like you're part of a school, you're part of a community, you have someone to ask questions to. Otherwise, you're honestly not going to do it. Most people never even end up graduating from those certificates because there's no accountability there.
Right. You don't finish.
Yeah.
You don't finish, or it's just it's not interactive enough and you don't read the material or something like that. And these are the kind of things we do student surveys a lot to be like, what'd you like? What'd you didn't like? And the best feedback is what you didn't like because we don't have to guess what people want. And we just go in there and change it.
So now you guys have 2 tracks that people get to choose from if they want to do 6 months or 12 months. So for people who are listening, they're like, okay, I know I want to do this. I'm just not sure. Do I want to do the 6 months, 12 months? What's the difference?
So we now have the 6-month accelerated course, which we call it in Spanish Assist. So a lot of the content is subtitled in Spanish and a lot of the documents are in Spanish. So it's Spanish Assist. And then we have English 6-month accelerated and then the 12-month program, 12 months. And so with the 6-month program, it's the same exact thing as the 12-month program. We just open the modules and you take the quizzes quicker. It's probably about 10 to 11 hours a week, whereas the 12-month program is 5 to 7 hours a week.
Okay. And I know the next start date for the year-long program is September 21st. And
yes.
And do you know the next start date for 6 months or same time?
Same time.
Same time.
It's back to school, whether you want to do it fast or you're ready to take a full year, it's back to school. So we are hoping to get a really big September 21st class. And it seems like there's a lot of interest. So we're excited for it.
Yes. I mean, it's Vata season. Vata is the fall energy of new change, new ideas, creation. And whether you're technically going back to school or not, you're feeling that. It's Virgo season, which is putting things into action. And also we're just getting out of the most crazy, past 6 months of coronavirus and quarantines and all of these realizations people have been having of okay, I want a career change. I know that I don't want to go back to my desk job, or maybe I even lost my job or my business. And I'm wanting something that actually makes me feel good every day that I'm helping the world. So if this is you, the next 6 months to a year are going to go by anyways, right? That's really what helped me understand. Like, they're going to go by anyway. So I could either graduate from a school in this time or be back at square one wondering what to do with my life. And I'm so glad I just took the plunge and said yes. So if anyone's listening right now, honestly, you're never going to regret education. You're never going to regret growth and fulfillment. And if you resonate with my work, you resonate with the work of all the people we just mentioned who went to IIN or teach at IIN, just seeing in my Rose Gold Goddesses community, the conversations, because we have a coaches support group in there too. And a lot of them are IIN grads. And they're like, I had no idea what to expect, but my life has improved so much from doing IIN because I'm doing the work myself. I mean, I think that was the coolest part. Like, I was getting health coached by everyone else in the group too. So it's like, you're looking at, oh, wow, I have this, I have that. Where is it coming from? So it's like personal development on top of career and business growth. So I'm excited for everyone that's going to be signing up.
Me too. And when we don't typically do this, but the folks that sign up with you or whoever listens to this podcast just have to mention your name, and our admissions representative will take care of them with a special payment plan or a special price or something.
Yes. So we do have a special offer for you guys that we will be giving a $2,250 off discount for pay in full, as well as $1,500 for payment plans. They have amazing payment plans. We also have some bonuses for you. I actually recorded an entire webinar of everything I've learned on how to have a thriving health coaching career. So how I got my first clients, how I transitioned to group coaching, into online programs, into memberships, kind of when to do those things, how your dosha has to do with what you could be the best at, all of the questions that people have around, like, how much money can I make? How do I structure this? How do I that? Like, super, super nerdy, all of the things. I answer that all for you in this webinar. And then we also did a call with Linda as well a couple months ago, like a business coaching call. So they'll have access to that. And then also reserved seating whenever the next IIN live conference is. So take advantage of that, guys. The next start date is September 21st, right around the corner. If you're listening to this later, there will be another start date too, I'm assuming in the winter. So just be sure to head in November. Perfect. So just be sure to head over to the show notes, wherever you're listening to this on the podcast. You'll see the link there. You'll find it on my website. Click the link so you can get those bonuses, get enrolled, and get started with your future. We are excited for you. So thank you, Jim, so much for being on the podcast today.
It's always fun talking with you. Thanks.
Namaste. Are you feeling on fire, ready to take on the world and launch your career as a holistic health coach? So head over to my show notes or my website, amzn.to. You will find that link has more information for you. Be sure to tell them you were referred by Sahara Rose to get your discount, get your bonuses, and get started September 21st or in November if you're listening to this later. There are start dates throughout the year. Whenever you're listening to this, you can get on board, receive this discount, receive my bonuses, and begin your career as a holistic health coach and see where the journey takes you. So I'm so excited to see all that you create, whether it's books or centers or retreats or whatever else it is. And please know that the world needs it right now more than ever. So thank you for stepping up into your Dharma. If you loved this episode, I would love to send you a free gift, which is the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. This is a different book than Eat Feel Fresh, my first book ever, which is not released anywhere, and I am gifting it exclusively to those who leave a review of my podcast in the iTunes store. So all you got to do is head over to iTunes, where you may be listening to this podcast, and leave a review. Take a screenshot that you've left it and email it over to me at sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. Again, that's Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com. And I will send you back the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type, which goes all into Ayurveda, doshas, plant-based nutrition, body types, all of the things in a really fun and engaging way. So this is my gift to you for free for supporting the podcast. Every single review I personally read. It really helps the podcast be listened to by more people so we can raise the vibration of the planet together. And I am so grateful to have you on this journey. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Namaste.